100% sure when my tics first started, but I do know they started getting pretty bad when I was 12 years old, so right before the beginning of grade 7. I would blink my eyes really hard like that. So when you think about it with Tourette's, you have to do it usually. And so that's why, words of advice from me, if you know someone with Tourette's, do not say, oh, why aren't you ticking, or like mention one of their tics to them, because honestly then they'll start ticking and it just kind of defeats the purpose. So don't mention tics to people with Tourette's because they go crazy. So blinking really hard, scrunching my nose was one of my first tics, and swallowing really hard. And so my parents were kind of concerned, and I think they knew what was going on because Tourette's is in my family. I have cousins with Tourette's, and it has been passed down from generations apparently, and so my parents were like, oh, she might have Tourette's. So they took me to the doctor because, sorry, that's my newest tic, it's head jerking. It's kind of painful. So they took me to the doctor. They took me to the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have Tourette Syndrome. And so he sent me to a psychiatrist because he thought maybe that he could help me with medication and coping strategies and all that kind of stuff. So I was sent there next. And the psychiatrist made me realize I had more tics than I even thought. One of them, which we should have noticed because it's pretty obvious, was barking. My parents always just thought it was a joke whenever I'd bark. They'd be like, oh, little puppy, it's so cute. But honestly, I couldn't stop barking. I'd just be like, ah! And it would get really loud. And I can hold it in public most times, but honestly, at home, I just let it go like crazy. I'm just like barking all the time, and it's really a burden because it annoys my family. Like, not to the point where it's like really bad, but honestly, if you lived in a house with someone who barked, you'd kind of get annoyed. I would get annoyed, and it annoys me too. Like, I can't stop barking and I don't know what to do. And so those are some of my tics. I've grown to have a lot more. My motor tics are way worse than my vocal tics. I move my back all over and it really hurts. And I kick my feet together when I'm walking and when I'm sitting down and when I'm laying down. And so when I wear shoes, it cuts my feet, and so I have scars on my ankles and it really hurts. So most of my motor tics are actually kind of painful, but it's harder to hold them in. So if you see someone with Tourette's, do not tell them to hold in their tics because honestly, it's very hard for them anyways. And so if you just accept their disorder and accept them as a person, that is pretty much how you should go, because honestly, Tourette's doesn't define you. Tourette's isn't something that you should be ashamed of. It's just a part of me, and I'm gonna live with it for the rest of my life, and I really hope you guys accept us because we're not different than you. We just tick like clocks. So yeah.
I was diagnosed with Tourette's when I was in 6th grade, 12 years old, but my first tics were around 3rd grade when I was like 8 or 9 years old. My first tics were moving my eyebrows and blinking a lot. My mom took me to an eye doctor because she thought I couldn't see very well, that's why I was blinking. And then the eyebrow tic, she just told me to stop because she never saw it in my 9 years of life, so what else is she gonna do? But I went to the eye doctor and they said that my eyes were fine. I don't know why I was doing this, but we just never thought of it again. And then 4th grade, I was doing the same exact tics, but it just became kind of a part of life, so we just ignored it. And then 5th grade, again, just part of life, kind of ignored it. Then 6th grade is when my vocal tics started coming out, and then my mom was like, okay, let's go to a doctor now. And we went to a doctor, and the doctor was like, well, I'm gonna send you to a neurologist because I don't really know what's happening. So the neurologist said that I have Tourette Syndrome, and then we got sent back to my regular doctor, and she's like, yeah, you have Tourette Syndrome. So that was just finally put in my records and stuff. And after that, we kind of just lived with it. I mean, can't really do anything about it. I'm not on any medications right now. I've never been put on any medications because of my Tourette's or anything else. So yeah, I'm just kind of dealing with my Tourette's like that. I mean, but yeah, other than that, that's basically my story. I mean, there's not really much to it except when I started ticking, when I was diagnosed, and how I was diagnosed and everything. But I'm going to share a little bit more about Tourette's. There are two main tics about it. There are like two main categories for tics. One's motor and one's vocal. The vocal is all the noises, and for me it came way later than the motor, and motor is like physical and movement and stuff like that. I believe a lot of people's tics, motor tics, are a lot worse than their vocal. For me, that's true. It used to be my vocal tics in the past used to be a lot worse, but now it's my motor tics. My motor tics right now are hitting myself a lot, and a lot of my facial tics, and then that's about it. And then my vocal right now is just like like that. And then the second one I just did, the vocal, that was actually real because I just did like a fake one. I don't know. A little bit more about Tourette's. Not a lot of people swear with Tourette's. That's usually the first question I get is, oh, you swear? Whenever I tell someone with Tourette's, so you swear? And I'm like, no, Tourette Syndrome is something where you can't, like, you do something that you can't control. Do or say something that you can't control. And they're like, oh, I would love to have that. And it's just like, no, you wouldn't. But, I mean, Tourette's isn't so bad. Mine isn't, at least. I could still do a lot of things. I could still do everything with Tourette's, but it seriously can be a burden sometimes, especially out in public. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes, but other than that, I don't really have a problem with my tics or anything. If I'm comfortable around you, I'll tic. And I'm the kind of person that likes to make jokes about Tourette's just to ease the awkwardness. So that's what I do. But yeah, that's my story, and that's a little more information about Tourette Syndrome. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And once again, I'm Morgan, I'm 14, and I have Tourette Syndrome.
I actually have not been properly diagnosed yet. The doctor, neurologist, basically said if I had started getting bullied or if I had problems in school with the teachers because of my Tourette's, then he would properly diagnose it. But I mean, my parents have been monitoring my tics for like 4 to 5 years, so they know, what's wrong with me. I know what's wrong with me. I know that I tic, so no matter if I have a proper diagnosis or not, the tics aren't going to change. So my first tic started showing up when I was around 9 years old, 9 or 10, I don't remember, but my first tics were like turning around like that when I was just sitting down on the couch one day, looking at the ceiling, blinking very heavily, and sniffling as if I was sick. So it was really weird because as a 9 or 10-year-old, you're usually in control of your body. So to have the feeling that I wasn't in control, it was really weird as a young kid. But I learned to deal with it at a young age, especially since the tics haven't changed that much. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice. I just had a game and I was yelling a lot. Anyway, my tics haven't really changed since then. I've gotten this, let me say, those tics haven't gone away. I still sniffle, I still turn around, look at the ceiling, jerk my head, but my tics are pretty calm right now. So that's pretty good. But I've gotten new ones like clearing my throat, shoulder tics, mumbling a certain phrase under my breath that not a lot of people know about, eye tics, nose tics. I have one where I poke myself in the stomach. It's really weird. Maybe I'm just checking for a 6-pack. Hasn't come in yet. Nope. But I don't know. I've learned to take my Tourette's in stride. I've found my coping mechanism, which is definitely soccer. I'm a goalkeeper, and sorry, this is another one of my tics that I have. And it's weird when you're writing too, because I'm just I'm writing and I have to like lift my pinky up. Anyway, it's weird. But like I said, when I'm on the field, you know, everything just goes away. and and you know, it's just like the Tourette's doesn't exist anymore. And you know, if it's on their half of the field, then sure, sometimes I'll tic. Just depends on how they are that day. But basically, why did I say basically? It's just my coping mechanism, being in the goal. Like I said, if it's like on my half of the field, it's really weird because you'd expect that. I read this in an article and it made sense. It was an interview with Tim Howard, and it basically said that when it's in like his half of the field, when he's about to take on a shot, you would think that in the most nerve-wracking moment that the tics would get worse, because usually in times of anxiety, excitement, nervousness, you start ticking more than usual. But you know, if goalkeeping or soccer is your way out, it seems like it doesn't even bother you when you're in the goal. You know, whenever I face a 1v1, I'm not turning around. You know, I have tunnel vision on that ball, and I want to be the first one to it. And it's just really weird. I don't know. Like I said, I found my coping mechanism, so the best thing you can do is find your coping mechanism, because it'll help you get through living with the disorder, especially if your case is very severe. And I've been blessed with a very mild moderate case. It's not that hard. It's mostly just motor tics, a couple vocals. So I've learned how to deal with it. I've taken it in stride, and you know, I want to become an advocate for those that just need a little extra push. And this is why we've created this channel, is to help you get through your disorder. So all I can say is, don't ever give in to the disorder, because you can beat it. So my name is Emberly Sevilla, and I have Tourette syndrome.
I was diagnosed with Tourette's when I was in 7th grade, around like December, Christmas time. But I've had like tics and symptoms of it since 2nd grade. Overall, like, my Tourette's is really mild. Like, I have a lot of face twitches, and like sometimes I do like a head jerking, and pretty like rarely, but every now and then, like, I'll kind of shake my, like, shiver, like, kind of that. It's not very often, to the point where it's like a concern, but it happens. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what to do. I don't really like videos. I don't do them often, mostly because I hate my voice and it just makes me nervous. And also with like being nervous, I know it's really common for like people with Tourette's or just tics in general. When they get nervous, their tics get really bad, and that's part of like what's made my Tourette's pretty bad. Like, I know there are people who have it a lot worse than I do. Like, they bark and swear, curse word, yell curse words, but even that's a really rare type of Tourette's, and that's like a lot of people just associate it with that, and that's not true at all. I moved to Indiana when I was going into 4th grade, and that was a time when I didn't, like, my tics weren't bad. Like, I honestly don't even think I had them. I think they had gone away. And then 5th grade they started coming in a little more, and then I went to middle school, and they like started getting progressively worse each year. And 6th grade was alright. Like, it was fine. There wasn't anything big. They happened, but people asked about them, and I told them that my mom thought I had Tourette's because she's a psychologist. But then 7th grade, like around the time I got diagnosed, that winter was just overall bad. Like, it was really bad for me. And I was taking all the time, and I would blink like that. I just thought about it, so I did it. I don't know if that happens for anybody else, but it happens for me. And I'm like all over the place, I'm sorry. But so I would blink my eyes all the time to the point where I could hardly like see, and I would like do a mouse tic like that all the time, and it hurt, and it was just a really bad time. And that happened again this year around the same time. I think it just has something to do with like a season. I don't know why. And then I moved back because I'm originally from Virginia, so I moved back here in February, and that's where I've been. And when I started school, they were pretty bad because I was nervous about starting, and they were alright, and my first day went pretty smoothly, and it's been smooth like ever since, and there haven't been any like really big things. So it's just, for people with Tourette's, it's kind of hard to feel comfortable in public, and for me at least, it's hard to be in like crowded spaces or with a lot of people. Like I'm okay with being in like closed spaces, but it's kind of weird. I just don't like being with a lot of people touching me or around a ton of people that I don't know, and that sort of like kind of triggers my tics, and they go sort of out of control then. I can do a pretty good job of like containing them a little bit. Like I still can't, I'm not to the point where I can like fully stop them, but they're pretty okay. And yeah, I'm sorry for not being the best at this, but I'm sure I'll get somewhat better as this channel continues. So yeah, see y'all soon, and bye.
TS happens really without any of your own consent. I was diagnosed in 2012 during my sophomore year of high school, though my symptoms started when I was about 6 or 7. Say hi to my cat. My first tic was a shoulder shrug, and of course it happened in public, better yet at my friend's party with a bunch of laughing kids and curious parents. What are you gonna do? My OCD also combines with my TS, which is where I tend to get a lot of my more complex tics and convulsions. Like, it gets to the point where sometimes I don't even know which one is a tic or which one is a compulsion at all. Macaroni and cheese. Welcome to my kitchen. Out of order stuff. My worst tic right now is probably the one where I squeal. We're ticking together, and we're here to inspire, educate, and raise awareness.